In the last video, I shared one of my insights with you that I had to learn the hard way, and over time, through practice and work as a naturopathic doctor. And that little secret is that if you've got a low back problem and a hip problem, and you've been one of my patients over the years, it's been highly, highly likely that until we release the back of the thighs, the low back or hip issue isn't likely to heal fully. The treatment might last a few days or a few hours, but the legs need to be addressed. Why? Why is that? Okay, if you haven't watched the hand and wrist video yet, go watch the hand and wrist video, because it's going to help you understand this one a lot better. It's not very long. Just go watch it, come back, and we'll do this. Okay. With the thighs, the muscles of the thighs, where are they going to, which bone are they going to knit onto? The upper thigh bone or the shin bone? They're going to, onto the shin bone, onto the calf bone, whatever you want to call it. The lower leg bones are where the upper leg bones are knitted onto. And the lower leg muscles are knitted onto the upper leg bones. So I'll say that again. Remember, joints, in order for them to be able to move well, those muscles have to be attached at the other end of the joint. So our thigh muscles are knitted onto our lower leg bones, and our lower leg muscles are knitted onto our upper leg bones, so that this can happen. Okay? So, this is very common. We do this a lot, right? Because we squat and we walk and we're usually carrying things. So there's a lot of flexion that happens around the thigh muscles. So, we know some of the bones, so we know where the lower attachment point of our thigh muscle is, right? It knits onto the lower leg bone. But what about the upper thigh ones? What about the upper thigh muscles? They've got to knit onto something. What do they knit onto? Well, there's a combination of things they knit onto. They knit onto our sitting bone, our ischium. They knit onto our outer leg bone. And they knit onto, some thigh muscles will knit onto the pubic bone. And there are there's a bit of back thigh muscle action happening there. On the inner thigh, you've got a bit of, the back of the pubic bone, which is two pelvic bones knitted together. So the thigh muscles themselves are very closely in communication with the hip muscles and the hip bones, because the hip bones is where they knit onto. Now, what happens when muscles get tight? They get short and they pull the bones they're attached to together. Well, what happens if the back of the thighs are tight? Your lower leg bone is going to get pulled backwards toward the sitting bone, or basically toward the hips. And your hip bones are going to get pulled downward. Now, because of the specific, very specific places those thigh muscles knit onto, the pelvic bones tilt out of position as well. Pelvic tilt. I'll say that again. Leg muscles knitted onto pelvis, causing pelvic tilt. Okay, causing pelvic tilt. Well, what's going to happen to our spine if we have had pelvic tilt? I want you to get up and try that. Get up in pelvic tilt. It doesn't feel very good on the lower spine. It flattens the nice natural inward curve of our lower spine. When that flattening occurs, discomfort starts to set in. Low back pain starts to occur. So why didn't our thighs just complain? How come we didn't have thigh issues if the thighs are the problem? How come we didn't have, oh, my thighs hurt? Well, it's because the thighs don't complain very much. And that's just the way it is. That's the best way I can describe it, is the thighs just don't complain very much. But the back muscles do. The back muscles complain a lot. They're great complainers. And that's lucky for us because they've got a very important job. They protect our spinal cord, don't they? They protect our spine bones, and our spine bones in turn protect our spinal cord, and our spinal cord is our wiring. It's part of our wiring. It's part of what the nerves plug into so that our organs can work, and our hands can work, and our arms, and our legs, and our face muscles, and our feet, and our thighs, and our hips, so everything can work. So yeah, you better be sure those back muscles are gonna complain if they're not happy. Absolutely. But the thigh muscles, not so much. The knees, on the other hand, yeah, the knees will complain. Let's talk about the knees and the feet next. But remember, this was a complicated video. It was a short video. You might have to watch it a couple of times. Let's go through it again. Leg bones knitted onto the lower leg, coming up to knit onto the hips. And when leg bones are short and they're pulling the bones together because they're tense, pelvic tilt. Pelvic tilt creates flattening of the spine, which in turn creates muscle tension. We'll see you soon.